Minor. Well, I should say before. Ugh, not been a good day. It's actually interesting. When my plans go awry, very, very interesting. Like, so I was hoping to have somebody could talk about Yaira, but then Fall Guy. Hmm. Berkeley to return parking lot. Interesting. Who knew that was a thing? Well, now here's where to begin. Awful, awful, awful. Very actually. Wow, interesting story. Roman Polanski is still a trial. I mean, it's only been like, Jesus, what, 27 years? 27? 47 years since the Roman Polanski allegations. And I highly doubt he'll ever actually appear because they would probably arrest him. That's going to be actually okay. So, very interesting. A lot of news stories. So, I originally planned to talk more about the follow up on my Comicsgate thing, but Saturday, of course, you had the Katie thing drop, and I'm like, oh shit, so I might just change my perspective right there. Yaira gets released, and then, of course, do my thing. I started Dragon's Dogma, and I'm like, been there. Because I guess I finally got back to a main area. I mean, borderline a god, basically, at least. Then I have to continue with the rest of the story. I mean, hell, get lost on one side of the map, you know, find it. Hmm. That's not really true. It seems weird, right? So Dollar Tree's closing. See, I meant to do something on Sweet Baby Ink, but I just got to figure out how to package it. I think I have the idea. Just gotta get the clips cut out. Be honest, it might be a series too. Mm-mm-mm. Anakin Skywalker apparently was put into. So the kid who played Child Anakin got put into a mental hospital for a week. He's like inpatient, outpatient. Mm. I mean, I heard he was like not really good. I think at least Hayden Christensen didn't have that. But yeah, apparently you got MSNBC now talking about RFK Jr. shortlist. Nebraska bees lying. Nebraska governor approves. Interesting. And Neil Neil Young is returning to Spotify after throwing a hissy fit over Joe Rogan. When did that? Almost 2 years ago. Basically, yep. Call that actually. Oh, it's okay. Alaska Airlines, the door that blew off was only scheduled for maintenance. Yes. No. Not good at all. They also get greeted to the story as well. So, see, I originally was going to talk about the State of the Union address because I do have thoughts on that. Because it's very interesting, because I do keep up with politics. It's kind of crazy, by the way, because I'm like, because you have to ask if Biden really believes what he says. And he probably does, but that reality of that State of the Union speech was out. We're not even talking. It's worse than normal. I mean, cognitive reality is a question. I mean, crimes dropped. No, New York and everywhere is still awful. So as I say, where to begin? It's a little bit chaotic. But I'll clarify too. It's because I figured Ethan had two choices with the Katie thing. Katie did thing. He either is going to lay low and act like it doesn't happen. People who were going to leave Ethan were going to leave so he could purify the block. Now, there's mixed messages, really, because Katie is, but she also wound up deleting that stream. If you saw the video I premiered, that stream, she ran it for almost like 12 hours, and it was like, sure. She just had that thing on loop. Now, I could do a deep dive into that because she says she didn't write any fan fiction. She's lying her ass off. I mean, Mint, doesn't hide what she does. I mean, Riley and Mint don't hide it. It's just people don't choose to. I mean, right now, Comicsgate looks like a joke. I mean, it's rather crazy in that situation. I mean, I want to take it apart, but like Ethan does it himself. Like one thing he'll say it's fine, and another he says it's not. So, I mean, it's really crazy because my follow up was going to go into how Ethan was. Of course, the Katie did thing dropped, and that's insane to itself, but that's something I already knew. She was a degenerate shipper. I didn't need to know about that. I already guessed she was. I wouldn't be lying, though, at least, because I do have stress and anxiety. Ugh. But also the same way. I was like, huh. Comes out, and it's hard to sometimes deal with. But gotta be focused on things. only X amount of time in a day to focus. So I have bits and parts in places. Because I had the thing I was going to cut up for Sweet Baby Ink, though. See if Renown wanted to come on and talk about Yaira, maybe LG as well. Because it's funny, it hit 1 million. Now, if he does do a statue at 2, okay. Likelihood, I would say maybe it would hit 1.5. I mean, it's not like the economy is in a good place, particularly. Because that's separate. I mean, you have literally Ethan who's just doing as I think he's going to do. Ethan's just being a sheer, pain in the ass in that regard. He's basically just grifting Iron Age. He has a bunch of no names on. Tell me what Black Angus does. Oh, that's right. He still has a poster with art by Vic King. All right. Explain that. Yeah, but he's still going to go after Iron Age. You think Razor Fist is going to talk to him? I mean, Razor Fist isn't going to talk to him. His audience is sure. He's leaving his audience willfully, blissfully ignorant. But I could forgive people for not caring about new CG shit. I mean, the only people who try to set the record straight. I mean, Katie's gone back to doing her shit and basically being a massive just clipper. That's what she's doing. She just went back to silently clipping stuff for Ethan, which is just weird. That's been her thing. She's trying to touch the whole dog thing. I mean, it's not like I don't have stuff I can cover. It's just, ugh. I'm trying to do stuff as a one-man operation, then between IRL life and a little bit. I don't know. Sometimes spring, March. I have my winters are dead. Right through March, usually. Time escapes too because daylight savings time caught up with me. 1 second, be right back. But yeah, that's. Oh, hello, stop. Gold child. It's Gold Child. Get out. Okay. Oh, sick. Oh, sakes. child. Here. Here. Oh, come here. You. Come here. Yes, you gonna behave for once. Mm-hmm. Good. Well, yep. Mm-hmm. Sit right there. You're good. Come back. Fine. But then there's also a lot of news stories on top of CG deciding to be degenerates and implode, of course. Oh, poor Vincent. Poor Vincent. I mean, I was just thinking as I actually had to go walk off, right? Yeah, because on the whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing, right? Like, that's a separate, feel like, it's not like trying to do it. Like, hire more well developed creators or doing the route I was going to do. And that's fine. But the stories are there. But the thing with Ethan, I mean, I'm just figuring out how I want to package it. It's not because it's clips and segments, because he's getting caught. I mean, he's trying to say as well, because if he's caught in a catch 22, right? Because he's basically doing the lazy content creation cycle. That's what I call lazy content creation. At least. Part of his problem is he nearly has years of books out, but there's this problem that he can't. Basically, he's doing the YouTuber thing, lazy reactionary content, except without the Hassan share business. He's being a reactionary. Lazy reactionary content is, that's what it could be called. Someone does something, so I'm going to do something. I'm going to literally do it. Someone mocks him, so he thinks it and he shoves it into the algorithm. Because he has a bigger spot and a bigger platform, he can get it through. Right. So in turn, he's sucking oxygen out of the entire space. Now, what's funny is he's sucking oxygen not from Eric, but he's sucking oxygen from his side. Now, that's burying Tony's numbers, Katie's numbers, and everything else. Now, he lost roughly, 1,000 subs potentially from this last week's drama. Sure. Katie, I'm sure, has lost people as well. Now, it's going to be interesting how the CG Puritans view the Katie did thing when that catches up. Because I highly doubt the CG slums will stop attacking. As far as principle goes, Ethan's just becoming George R.R. Martin. So, that's what I see, at least. I was going to try to diversify, because it's hard to sometimes do stuff. Like 2 weeks back to back, you cover Riley, then you have to cover Katie Dick stuff. Yeah, lest I want to find out there's actually dog pill photos. I mean, Oh, I already get accused of doing that. I could have told you Katie did was into that. I don't have to be told that she was just a sheer degenerate. That goes with the territory. Because what was the clip? Someone found a clip of EVS when he doesn't want women in Comicsgate. Oh yeah, that's the man Katie identifies with. Literally said, I don't want women there because they do degenerate things. And that's the one thing, by the way. Someone also said as well that women always that are like anime people always have problems because that's a narrative. Like, and to be fair, right? That's a separate topic though, on the whole degeneracy in anime. A lot of people it can just come out in various aspects. I mean, it's rather weird. I mean, I have it's like well, of course, Biden and Trump both secure their nominations. No one wanted to primary them. Man, we are so screwed. It's not even about a uniparty. We are screwed. I mean, that's one thing I hate every time I hear it too. Is that's a separate get at that point. But Ethan's now in that catch-22 of stuff. He has a large portion of his audience who want to be there, and he might. We'll see how he acts at some point if he changes his approach. You know, but I think his streams going forward are going to be that. I mean, I have what I want to do. See, what I want to do and what I can do are two different things. Right? 2 gaming streams, 2 commentary a week. Sure. It's not like I get on the whole thing of Dragon's Dogma. I mean, that's a prime example. Like, it's not really me following a trend. I was going to play that anyways. To be fair, my PC gaming back catalog is. I'd say it's massive. It's not like Xbox. So basically, right? It's not like I have clips, right? Because here's the thing. Ethan is pretty much guilty of being a YouTuber at this point. Doing I'm not a big fan. See, Arch brought this up. Sargon's brought this up before too, but Arch is a little bit different in term where he sits. He does not like being the guy reacting. Sargon, on one hand, likes to deal with stuff, but he tries not to be a reactionary. But he is a reactionary content creator. EBS right now is trying to balance out stuff. And quote unquote, and pardon the parody, hoping the chickens don't come home to roost. And there's no price he pays. I mean, courting Tony and courting Katie did is pretty bad. He's doing nothing to combat them. He's having to address them. He knows he's getting clipped every week. I mean, literally, I saw people already clipping EVS. I mean, hell, it's not even from the slums even that are doing it. EVS basically is just trying to follow whatever's popular on Google or whatever's being sent to him. By the way, that's how he's functioning. His whole content cycle. Like, Tony didn't have, like, is kind of doing that as well. Like, he's late. Like, I need to look up and see it. Like, on Tony's pretty much trying to do that for some time, in fact. But the fact EVS is there, like, that's why I use him as the George R.R. Martin. Like, I was looking up. I went on a Game of Thrones binge recently. Looking up something, the actual books. So Tony only has on his Sweet Baby Inc. only has 196 views on the Infiltrate and Destroy clip. 364 on his Sweet Baby Stink, which he literally stole from somebody else. All right? Fine. EVS is in that weird stuff too. That would be curious to see how the numbers shake out. Like, I don't know why you're going to stream snipe. Like, because apparently Kiwi Farms is getting rather busy on Tony. Which, that's not good for him. Katie got broken in about a week. Not even a week, by the way. Yeah. No, wasn't even a week. So you're talking about being part of CG, and like then someone pretty much found everything out about her. And I mean, I got a treasure trove there. I mean, and to be honest, there's a massive treasure trove. Yeah. I gotta see. BTM reviews. Why are you being... They're still trying. Huh. Well, I mean, Katie's gone radio silent, so she's just going to be on clip mode for a while, I believe. She'd probably appear. She was on Tony's for a little bit. If anyone thinks Katie's honest, now everyone's trying to pick apart Yaira. I think everyone did. DLH. Interesting. So, well, I mean, what they're going to do, right, she can't get away from it. I mean, Ethan knows everything that goes on in his sphere. The thing is, he can choose to be a reactionary for views. I mean, because it's looking at the fallout, right? Of if you say drama of it all. Let me see. 2.1. I'll be curious if she does a live stream. Like, she may just go live under a rock for a while. 800 views on a shout out. And I guess you're going to go with Chris Bacon, whatever feels in your sphere. We'll see how that shakes out. Because she's trying to sit back, get clips from Lofties, because that's very weird for her. Ethan's put her in a prime spot, just as Tony's been put in a prime spot. He's not really quoting mint salad anymore. I mean, that's a thing. Now, part of me really thinks, and this is my theory, because no one else's. Tony got lectured by EVS in private. That's just my theory. See, Tony's views are down as well. What, he's getting 1.6, 1.8? Check out 13 days. So his Eric's grift, right? From a week, and then the Katie thing dropped. So that's almost 500 views. Because I'd be really curious how the Social Blade is going to show. Like, he's going to have 2 comics coming out. Because the thing is, but then again, Katie could go entirely radio silent. And there can always still be the whole thing, dogs in the chat with her. Like, it can always be a thing. And that's going to come back and bite Ethan. Now, if any more damning evidence comes out, he's going to have to run from her. I'm pretty sure that both her and Tony both got a talking to between in the weekend. Matt Barr apparently got unfollowed by EVS on Saturday because I guess he kept getting mentioned. Now, let's see. But yes, the idea of the hypocrisy, right? He's just trying. I guess supposedly a man is, I mean, hell, I think even EVS, because I'm trying to find that. oh, she clips people liking her. But that's not why she's getting around, to be honest. That is not even beginning to it. I mean, and to be fair, she's not going to be able to brain difference. Separate herself from what? Wow, so see, I do know as well as Black Angus has been like going underground as well. So this whole thing with this side, there has been a distancing. Now, did she give somebody else control? That's a question. Because EVS, right, can't I guess we need to look at Social Blade really quick though. Because I know it takes about 14 days for what numbers to start kicking in, usually. See, I don't even get half these titles. And everyone's trying to, like, he does the whole thing, let's say 17 hours ago. He's doing the, so there's a whole deal I have to do on the Yaira situation. That's when I put my thoughts together and are more cohesive. Because, but yes, EVS knows Yaira's the hottest thing, so he jumps upon that. And he did, here. See, I'm trying to figure out how many he has actually lost in the last. He's 100. So he's 144. So 1K subs on the 5th. See, it says he is at 1K sub. Well, 1K subs less than he was. Now, let me see something. Pardon the idea. Now, 1.6. She was at like 1.8, right? She was at 1. Let's see, maybe 100 subs, because a lot of hers were carryovers. Let's see. So she's getting the pot feeding, which is weird. Okay, so she lost 2,000 views. So that only was that from Tuesday? Saturday, she gained views. Saturday 9th. 5,000 views in, I guess she went over 12 hours. So she got like 10,000 views, but then she nuked it, right? Let me see. She may have not nuked it. That's going to be the curious part about Social Blade. So she lost 2,000 views on the 11th. So she put a stream up and it got deleted. She let somebody else stream. Oh, so she put a stream up and it got nuked on the 12th. Yeah, see, this is going to be an interesting thing to follow because Tony is not getting any blowback from this because she has actually lost subs. But the question is how many? And someone's trying to keep her sub numbers up by gifted subs. While Ethan's is very flat. Ethan's actual loss is 1,000 subs on the 5th, but none cents. But it shows him down to 143. So he's lost at least 200 subs. 2,000 subs, somewhere in that realm. He has at least lost, he said that he's losing 33 a day, minus 230. Last 30 days has only been 1,000. So I suspect Ethan streams, but he still has him at 144. Let me see if his views went down. So 27, 16. So yeah, no, this is just weird, right? Because his numbers are definitely showing he's taking a hit. And that's a weird. He's acting literally like nothing's going on. Like he went the entire stream last two without mentioning the Katie situation. Now, he's trying to trash on Yaira. Let me see if he does it the other day. Yeah, no, he's in total damage control mode. And he has nothing. That is bad. He's trying to bury his head in the sand like it's not happening. Man. So I think that's the trick, right? Because right now he's in such damage control mode because Slums is still, he actually had to apologize to Matt Barr. Interesting. Yes, Morgan, that's not why. But yeah, no, it's going to be. No, that's no old video. Hmm. What the fuck? I was actually start partying. I'm just looking for Ethan's recent tweets. Then I am greeted by ripoff verse, hunting a deer and talking with a deer head on his channel. Sorry, that is weird. Man, that dude. He needs to not. Be strange. Hmm. I meant to do this morning. Because there's this thing too, it's like the economy as well. Oh wow, look at E. And then I'm gonna have to get in that whole game at Comics Gate thing too. So nah, but like but yeah, no. EVS is acting like nothing's going on. And he's just continuing with it. But he's also Twitter drama, EVS unmuting Matt Barr. And then he wants attention. Yeah, no. And the narrative is no. I mean, Matt Barr could really care less because on the slums, right? Because that's the problem. Drone trap at this point. It's like, yeah, I gotta wait to see what that fallout is. You know? Because the fallout, right? By the way, I could care less about that shitty CW trailer from. Interesting. Because I'm trying to find is the one. Because Ethan himself, right, got into the whole little spat because Matt Barr goes, apparently, yeah, he's serious about blocking. Then Ethan was pretty much like, well, I'm sorry, I got busy. I didn't mean to unfollow you. And people were coping. It's like doing that as well. He got called out. It's like, then he refixed it. So yeah, I'll have to find that. It's an interesting tweet, by the way. Then, of course, you have Tony doing barely able to do a 2-hour stream. Yesterday. I'm guessing it wasn't there. It's the only thing I can. Now, but people pretty much don't understand. Matt Barr is fine. There's no really big drama. It's like, oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. I think Cider was actually on. Oh, by the way, there is some more interesting news too. Apparently, but yeah, no, I'm gonna do this. I'll probably get into this. I just got to figure out how to package it. It's Path of the Pill Rider. Well, apparently the X-Men. I gotta look into that, but because I gotta figure out how to package that. Want to talk about it though, because it is definitely weirder. Oh, sorry to see you right now. Oh yeah, no. She's gone down to just a clip channel, like pretty much how Texas Mofo is. So apparently the X-Men 97, like I guess it's confirmed. So Bo DeMaio got fired, by the way. See, they're not even two X-Men 97. The creator of the upcoming got fired. Let's see, to show people this. This is not a good sign, folks. Let me see. Now, I was going to invite you on right now if you wanted to talk about the Yaira thing. See, this isn't good, by the way. You were fired out. I heard about this. I wasn't sure if it was true. He's deleted his Instagram account, which featured regular updates, and is also no longer active in his free non. So did he have one? So Marvel put a giant gag order on him, by the way. Now, this is rampant speculation at this point. His company email was deactivated. They cut all ties with him. We're talking a week before the premiere of X-Men 97. And it was said he was fired without explanation. Now, Blurred Without Fear is the one who brought this up. Now, I'm pretty sure. What projects was he working on, by the way? What is his name? But for him to be fired, I'm assuming he was very problematic. And that's not because he's black either. He said something really dumb. He has been doing. What was he working on? He worked on 2 episodes of Strange New World, 1 episode of Moon Knight, 2 nights of Witcher. X-Men 97. Series is complete. It did all 11 episodes. I'm assuming that got slated for. So he is producer. And let me see. This is an interesting article that here. This was on the 13th. He was out promoting the series, adapted for a brand new audience. Now, this is something I am utterly waiting upon for just to see what happens. Because I'll watch the show. That's probably going to be my Halo. This will be. But all the red flags are here. The director was canned. One of the main leads was actually canned prior to the start of the show. See, to be fair, that doesn't look as bad. Like animated version of Witcher. You never know. Could be hot dog shit though. With Melisandre. How well was that received, I wonder? Nightmare of the Wolf. And see, he's getting here, like he is the whole creator. Now, this is interesting. Because Jennifer Hale, people. Yeah, no, you literally can, the creator. Like, that's not good. This has been in the works. That means you're trying to get rid of him before. I can tell you, this look, I don't know. This, see, they make him look more like Changeling here. This doesn't look good. Like this version of Storm, they're going to have to explain. They're going to have to explain how they get that version of Storm. And for that to be canned, like I'm pretty much how many days out? I mean, what's funny, by the way, though, is, and I have to reiterate for people who see this in gray, no one believes me, right? Shogun, here's a legit story. Okay, so now it's interesting, by the way. There actually is. They actually, they're supposedly saying that they're not happy about it because of the let's say I find this because I remember looking this up. I mean, if you think about it, right? Because it's set in the 1600s. Wonder if this is the actual. Find this here for people. Yes. Sorry for the screen. Oh, back to Eric Attack crowdfunding. Nice. That's fine. What video did Yellow Flash use? What article? See. No, I know it's a real article because God, I hate trying to find shit. Who did he call? Okay, hold on. So, if that's true, I would really be shocked. Let me see. Bite me? Thank you. Yeah. You know what? Eat me. You stupid Canadian. Not the other. You don't want to watch Shogun. You'd rather watch Halo and other bad TV shows versus this, which has 99 average tomato meter in this. I called this series to be good. And like, let me see. Now it's a level article, right? Because that's what he was using. Hold on. What is the article? I hate when they don't. Level. Here we are. Let me fucking debunk this in about a heartbeat. Let me see. Here we go. Oh no, I saw somebody. By the way, I saw somebody already doing Tolkien Hates Dune. Yeah, people, I saw that article. So, found it. Let's see. So, here we are. Now, let me explain this, right? For a man, for Samurai, he must have a bit of black blood. If that's the case, has a lot of sacred swordsmen. Now, of course, the person who probably wrote this knows nothing. Which I guess white savior trope. See, I'd have to go back, and it's been many years since I've seen the other one. But I've watched this show. There's really not a white savior trope because he is supposed to be Toragawa. Now, this is set pre Toragawa shogunate. So you have the idea, right? The only time you would actually have probably black people in Japan or China is either if they washed up on slave ships that were over them. You have the whole idea. I have to debunk this because I want to get into this series. I mean, they probably wouldn't be around. I mean, basically, people think that there would have been black people in Japan at this time. There were barely any white people in Japan during this time. And after Toragawa shogunate really cracked down, there weren't many other types there for a while. For a person to say basically black blood doesn't mean anything, maybe demon blood or whatever else. The series basically shatters the myth of the noble savage. I mean, I want to talk about the series. I'm going to have to do it without Gray. I have to do it without Patrick. Patrick has his reasons. Gray doesn't have any. Because I had to listen to somebody yesterday, saw a little bit of my stream I joined on multi-stream, and they say Dr. No is horrible. Bad people. No. Stop reviewing bad TV shows. Review good. Now, I will be honest, the viewership for this show, let me see, what is Nielsen numbers? I do not like Forbes. 9 million in 6 days. But TV, it's only getting 7. Like 9? It was 7.9. So that means as soon as you hit Netflix, that's where most of its viewership is coming from. Series disappoints me right here. Power is a really good series, but it turned out to be shit. See, the first average episode was basically second drew 4. I guess. But yeah, you're not going to watch this on FX. You're going to watch this on others because that's why they premiered it on multiple. So 9 million on replays. What was Dune like, you think? Dune. And everyone thinks there's going to be a season 2. No, it won't be. It's an open and shut series. Guess Hulu? So online, more views for Shogun. Now, I will say that it will probably maintain this. But I mean, they might accept a white person. See, this is what's funny. Because if you watch the show, they go, maybe there were some. Sure, would they accept them? You're literally talking in a land of myth. I mean, these are the same people who pretty much say, what? Show was attacked like Cleopatra was black? I mean, Netflix doesn't get that. See, Toranaga is Yoshi Toranaga is actually Toragawa. Now they are using basically actual Japanese, but it's like, yeah, that is a series. I'm actually curious. Like, actually, I was trying to find. I haven't really been out, my house the last 2 weeks. I really should though. But I'm usually a homebody, though. What is the viewership? I mean, it grossed pretty high. I mean, I know it's on track. Dune Part 2 is the highest, but what is its viewership? 9.4. Sorry. Let's say streaming. What is the streaming? I mean, Shogun was up there. Let's see. See, that's what's going to have to shake out because we'll have to see the numbers. Because Dune, February 9th, Part 2, right? Oppenheimer. Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting because. No, I mean, more was up there. Because one's movie and the other one's that. Dune was exclusively streaming, though. Not streaming, but Shogun was. Trust me, I have been. You can always tell a really good movie when it hasn't hit the free sites. By the way, if you never ever see a movie hit the free sites, I went looking for the week of. I'm like, I don't really want to go down. Not feel well enough. But no, that's a topic that's interesting because X-Men 97's writer getting canned. Now, people are probably wondering why Shogun's only one season. I mean, it's going to be an open and shut show. It's pretty much like Masters of the Air. Masters of the Air, let me see on that. I have to say that. Because Multi believes, basically believes, people don't like watching good television. People don't like playing good games. Like, to be fair, I could see 3 playthroughs of, like, Dragon's Dogma. Now, it's an older game, but it is miserable at the same time, by the way. Between the crafting system and the lack of heal potions, you can go eat a bag of dicks. But then again, I got shoved on the half the other side of the map. And I apologize if I had anyone watching and I'm trying to not die because I'm running from a fire, literally a fight for my life every area over there. And there's still one monster I haven't killed over there. It is a dragon. That thing can kill me. Let me see. Masters of the Air. I am very curious how Masters of the Air is holding up. Let me see something. It's the most watched launch, clearly, because it's a war series. February. But what is its viewership? Wiki, yes. It's based on a book, but let me see. usually? Where do they have the streaming? I guess you don't. Eight? Is it 8? No, there's 9, you dumbasses. I know there is. That's the problem with streaming services. They don't release their numbers. They really don't. IMDb. Yes. Let's go IMDb. 7.8 out of 10. Really? You savages. Uh. 86. Oh, that's weird, isn't it? That. Okay. Huh. I am. All right. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a minority on this one. Everyone loves Shogun. I guess it's like Gentleman's the other one, but that looks over the top. It's entertaining. Like recent series. Don't ask me how Avatar has that. I mean, Invincible is going to always be good. I mean, no one's going to hate on Invincible. Interesting. Oh, yeah. No. Sorry, but I'm trying to find down an article. No, you know what's weird? Masters of the Air undoubtedly is one of the best series. Now, it's buried underneath probably, I guess, show Apple and then other things. It's weird how it has an 89% approval rating amongst critics and only 67 audience score. I mean, what do you expect from a series? I mean, I think historically, it's going to be interesting on how they adapted it. Huh. Yeah, Friday, right? Yeah, no. I mean, Payday, by the way. I should reiterate, paydays are always going to be good. Or that's why I say maybe 1.5. It might hit 1.5. Now I could be wrong. It could go above that. It would be interesting if Yaira does hit 2 million. I say that it would be interesting. but you could be shooting for the moon at that rate. Because what is it at right now? It was at 1.1. So that means it's going to have to generate at least 900 more thousand. So, but it's also tax return season as well. Because what is it? It really didn't surpass, right? I mean, you're talking what? A million? It didn't pass a million within 20, but at least in 24 hours it did. So, what is it, 1.1? Because where is it at right now? Because for him to actually get to 1 point to get to 2, which I'm not saying is impossible, that would be meaning okay. So the idea, right, is well, see, now everyone's saying it. So it's at 1.1 right now. By the way, can you DM me the sales? Current comics? The site for it? Interesting. The Helldivers Discourse. Because, okay, 4 hours ago, right? 4,500, 4587A, B, 2456, 1926C, and 2506D. Now, if we 1,313,000. Total purchases were 6373, and that's a 330%. Now that actually blows me see. I have to go back. By the way, that voice acting for that trailer doesn't make sense. Yeah, everyone's pretty much saying X-Men 97 is screwed. By the way, is it wrong that he thinks he's Jeff Jarrett? Oh, look. We got another bodybuilder. You know, by B.A. Turner's standard, right? Come here. You know, look. By B.A. Turner's standard, we got another person that can't actually but weight lift, all right? Look at that pose, right? You can understand. Thank you. But look at that pose, right? That's great. So sales figures, right? Or we're talking comics. Now, I would be totally curious about how much Yaira's actually sold. I will be actually curious. See, now they're going to go after the Ripascend. Because that's where they're going to go next, I believe. Because, see, okay. I get it. Right? Yaira is going to be good, probably. So the creator got fired. No, on X-Men 97, he was the creator. He had lead credits. That is one of the main people. He is in the main credits of the creators. That show is screwed. Okay? There's something wrong. We're not talking a producer got fired. We are talking he has literally disappeared, not from the project, from everything. His Instagram, all of that. Fired, no shot, whatever. That's how bad it is right now. His Instagram's nuked promoting it. His email was nuked. His entire promotion of the series is down. That is a bad sign. You saw that? No, not the showrunner. He's one of the leads. We are talking. He is no longer there. Now, there's a lot of stories. Okay, according to Gray Rider was let go. Summaries fired Bo DeMaio. DeMaio, I guess he's gay as well. Fine. See, See, it's not only his OnlyFans that was deleted. Like, Instagram is gone. I want to say his Twitter's probably gone as well. Maybe. I have to go look that up. Bo DeMaio. Because for his whole, like, by the way, you're already going to have but you got to understand that is not good. And I don't think it's because he's basically gay either. Like, I would be very, very curious. Like, because I'm trying to find out. Because if his Instagram's gone, the Twitter's gone as well, I'm pretty sure his entire presence was nuked off of it. Speech is silver. Well, I mean, so he was discussing season 3 before his team was getting fired. So season 2's in the can already, or going to start. Hold on a second. Yeah, his Twitter is nuked. 1 second. No, it's entirely right. His posts are entirely gone. Like, his posts are gone. His Instagram's gone too. That's not good. Like, no, this is a bad sign. This is utterly bad, Renown. His Insta's gone. He's under basically a DMCA. Not DMCA, but probably a, what is it called? NDA. Sorry. Probably under an NDA with a CND. Man, I'm starting to think, Finn. Yep. See, his Instagram is literally down. Like, this is him. He is told to straight get off the project. Let me see. See a little website you can load. I see that. So whatever this is going to be an interesting story, because there is something like, Jesus. I'm actually curious. Come on, yeah. Let me see, your own personal website, yeah? God, probably nuked his own website too, didn't he? Yeah. His website's gone? Like, whatever happened, if this series is a dumpster fire, we know why. Mm-mm-mm. No, that's when you got told as a gag order. No, but this is what it looks like. Now, he has also been saying dumb shit for a lot of weeks. Basically, he has been on the record saying it's going to be done for a modern audience. And he has been saying a lot of weird, odd things. Now, I've been keeping track of this discourse. You don't can a director and then tell them to basically get rid of everything attached. You don't. That is not a good sign. Something is going to come out, by the way, and that is going to be a big deal. No, Renowned. By the way, watch for them. God, Andrew, you keep covering things. It's probably because there's that much. He was basically the main person, the showrunner, creative showrunner, and writer. And I don't think it was the OnlyFans that got him fired. Oh. Oh, he was also working on Blade? Like the TV show? Oh, that's not good. Because Blade's far canceled. Like, Blade is far. CLG put out a video. Let's go check that out. Will no longer be worked on Blade as well. See, Blade's had a bad history as well. Blade, that current Blade series, no one knows about it. And the fact, yeah, see, that's what someone said here. The fact he deleted the social media accounts points something serious. He's checking a lot of boxes, so Hollywood is not prepared to defend him. There's something bad. Now, that means something horrible happened and they're trying to get rid of it. We're not just talking like, I can't describe it because that's worse. Marla Gendo is just, I don't think it's because he's gay. I don't think that's it. No, that's Disney. And I can guarantee you, if anything is bad in that show, you will know why. Because that is actually a good point, Mr. H. I'm trying to look over Mr. HVU's video really quick. Yeah, he basically, yeah, once you're in Marvel, you're not fired. You are moved around. That's what they've been doing. So, what the hell happened? You were discussing season 2. I am so just. That has. And it's not a creative difference either. And I highly doubt. By the way, I can't wait to start this discourse because Dane's already going to go. The whole thing is going to go woke. And I have a hideout. Nah, we're going to be watching this. So, yeah, no, that's going to be interesting, by the way. No, you know how bad that is. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Wow, someone's. All right, so people don't think I'm crazy. That's why I don't read Twitter. Let's check it on some retardation myself. You know what? I don't care about streams then. What are you talking about, Miss Sparkles? You're trying. What are you trying to do? I don't like lies spread about me, Miss Sparkles. Oh, I was talking about the X-Men 97 director being fired. Is what I was talking about. The X-Men 97 director, apparently the creator, the showrunner, the creator, and one of the lead people was fired carte blanche from. You missed the beginning. I was talking about the conclusion of the Katydid thing. Then I was on to the X-Men, talking about Shogun, which is funny because Gray gets trapped in bad TV shows. I guess people want more diversity in a Asian TV show. Period piece. Then X-Men 97, I did a little bit of research. Because apparently the showrunner, the creator, and the main guy got canned entirely. His social media is gone. All of that. Yeah. And the show isn't even out yet. They have 2 seasons. They were talking a third. And it's gone. Now, that in basically like Hollywood terms, his Instagram is gone, his email's gone. He is cut entirely from Marvel. Yeah. He is cut carte blanche out of Marvel. We are not just talking removed from the head. He was working on Blade as well. The Blade project that's going nowhere. Yep. I just pulled up his actual Twitter. Wiped clean. Oh no, Blade is a cursed project, by the way. Blade's cursed. Blade is never going to get done, by the way. This is his actual. Let me fine. Let me show you Miss Sparks. This is actually. I was looking into it. His whole Twitter, his personal website, is all gone. Okay? Gone. Here, this is all that's there. Okay? He has been preaching about diversity. And Marvel put basically a don't say shit policy. His website is gone. His website's gone. His Twitter is entire lockdown. Tweets got deleted or privated or hidden, one of the two. His entire social media presence is gone. And he's removed from all projects. What do you make of that? That is bad. Oof. Yeah, no, the X-Men 90, this is ahead of the X-Men 97 remake. It's a sequel series, actually, Miss Sparkles. 2 seasons are in a can because the first season's 11 episodes. I guarantee they got 22 episodes out of them. So there's 2 different seasons guaranteed already. So 11 and 11 probably. They were discussing a third. Yeah, it's supposed to be a sequel series. This is a very bad argument. This is stupid. So Sweet Baby Inc. did nothing wrong. All they were trying to do is inject my diversity into this. Someone's dumb, someone's dumb. Someone is very dumb. Someone is dumb. Someone is very stupid. You won't be able to see this. You're going to have to read this on the thing. Okay? I'm not Vincent and I don't use Crow. All right? So if you could see this, this is very boring. So this is the thing I have to go over. The reason why a lot of people don't ever find out about half this stuff is they don't like reading. They don't like learning. Right? This is her explanation why. She was saying she was happy for the first time in development of Assassin's Creed for finding a black person or a colored person. This is her. This is actually her. This was 2020. She worked on Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Syndicate. Again, this is actually her talking about the way she develops video games. Yeah. This is one of the creators and main CEOs, Kim Bellar, of Sweet Baby Inc. The fact this is still up, there is an entire article of about 2 years later. This I showed to Vincent. I've known about this. This is women talking about diversity. He was losing it legitly because this is her logic, by the way. There's a difference between she feels the need to have characters represented. Dane, this is her. When I say representation is innovation, that's what I mean. You need to do it. Again, you can find this. This evidence has been out for years. Okay. I'll have to read. I'll read it out. Let me find the transcript. The transcript for this. I should download this because I'm going to have to go over this. Shouldn't take that long. Let me see. Because I should download this anyways because I'm going to have to go over this to begin with. So, I don't know how long. So if you can see on the screen, right, you can kind of see the timestamps right when they about get to it. So Vincent couldn't get past how an activist actually works. Also, as basically this was her in 2020. Because this is basically, when you look at it, it's all hers. Is it authentic, right? Because there's a lot here that her argument basically boils down to that white people, white cis males, not white males, cis white males have been overrepresented. She uses the term colonization. These are buzzwords she was taught. I know the language. I'll download it. It should download pretty quick, though. Then I'll have to find it. Put it in StreamYards. It's almost done. How do I know she was taught that? When you hear it out of her mouth. I know this because I know how think tanks work. You don't use... This is something people... Okay. Vincent and them don't like using... If you ask them how a think tank works, they don't understand that. Let me see. Hold on. How I know these. Hold on a second. So the thing about think tanks, how they actually work, is... So, Miss Sparkles, especially if you ever want to understand, every single day, at least Monday through Friday, news media people get an email. Okay? They get an email. Says, these are the talking points. These are this. This is what we see. Now, and this is every single morning. All major news networks get it, including Fox, CNN, every single one of them. How do I know this? Because Bill O'Reilly and I've listened to Glenn Beck in various news medias for years. It's the same news briefing everyone gets, with talking points. Now, in reality, I'm not going to EFAP this whole thing because I would go insane. This is an hour and 20 minutes. I would have to literally stop every. This alone, this one here is how. You ever want to know how an activist thinks? You will learn how an activist thinks. This is awful. So, news media, right? The reason why news stories sound the same, because these are talking points put forth by everyone. You will hear a news report in one part of the country that sounds similar to something coming out of New York. Something could be done in Dallas. You'll hear the same in Chicago. Think tanks, right? Usually put out this stuff. Think tanks usually are the ones who come up with the ideas that get put forth. This is why it's worked in progressives. People don't know that's the origin. Usually when you hear a buzzword thrown out, it's usually the case. And it's really shitty too. Everyone forgets about it. Okay. Should have downloaded this in the first place. Now, I wonder how long I could get through. So, how you can tell she was taught at a think tank? She does a lot of think tank speech. Is usually about
perception now.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
So, you're like a jack of all trades. there's so much that we could be asking about, but what I want to start with is sensitivity rating, because this was a new term for me personally, and I'm pretty curious about how it all works. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. So with my company, Sweet Baby Inc., we're a narrative development company. And for me, what that means.
This was in 2020. I know what sensitivity reading is. This is her explanation. See how far we get before I either go insane myself. The effects of missing. Yes. This is a woman who, as well, at a GDC conference, basically said in polite terms, take your marketing team out and show them how bad marketing could possibly get. If corporate people don't get why you need diversity in video games, show the media marketing team. And have them convince the bigwigs. It's very in the vein of what Anita Sarkeesian said years ago. Like a mob boss. This is a lovely business. It would be a shame if someone burnt it down. It's a little more than that, though, what sensitivity reading is. Think tanks have been interesting.
Is everything from writing and narrative design to world building to character development to scripts to punch ups. And for me, what's one of the most important things that I think I try to bring to any work that I do is representation. Is that feeling of, is this authentic? Is the diversity that we have in this game authentic? Does it come from an honest place? Does it come from a real place? And for me, what sensitivity, the work that we do in sensitivity is often tied into the work that we do in narrative, because I don't think they're necessarily two different things. When you find, when you're reading through a story, I'm thinking, okay, one, does the narrative work? And two, how does the narrative represent the players, not the players, but the characters in it? How does it represent the world that it's creating? How are people going to take that world, and how are people going to find themselves in it? So sensitivity reading is looking for blind spots in the work. It's looking for things that could, rub people the wrong way, things that could be insensitive to a certain culture or a certain kind of person or a certain identity, and trying to not only mitigate that, but to craft the story in such a way that, we're not oppressing anybody, we're not being unkind to anyone, and we're representing folks in a positive, supportive, or engaging light.
Are you able to influence how many or in what manner women and minorities are included at the planning stage of a game? Or can you only give feedback on existing characters already in the script?
So for me, that's why I tend to focus, my form of sensitivity reading or risk assessment and the work that we do on building the narrative. Because I think there are two kinds for me, kinds of sensitivity work. And one of them is that, you are presented with something that's more or less finished, that's already in there, and kind of your job there is to tell someone, okay, this might be offensive, this character feels
Oh my word, I put Levinson. I did not realize I had myself muted. So I have to rephrase that. Damn it. Okay, so as I was saying, I'll say the whole thing again. This is the woman that was behind Assassin's Creed, making the female Ivor canon, D&D, behind like D&D, when they changed sensitivity reading. So bear in mind. You can't say barbarian. You can't say savages. You can't say madness. I was actually going to do a segment with Gray on it because this is the second or third round WotC has done to D&D. Sweet Baby Inc. has worked with WotC. They've been in the Magic narrative to a certain point. So when you're talking sensitivity reading in what is modern language, see, she doesn't mention, yes, modern language can be a problem. So if you go back and look at new modules for D&D, as a prime example, they consider stuff like madness, and I'll pull that up, but when you're done talking with sensitivity readers, this is how it works.
Inauthentic to the identity that they're supposed to convey, or this.
And they use, this is the same person who came up with Angrboda. Angrboda is a giant and the mother of monsters in Viking lore. Dane said, what does matter? Like, they were like, oh, what is mythological matter? Gods are how they see people. I highly doubt Vikings, they were black Vikings, they knew what Africans looked like. Their gods would be representations of themselves. To be fair. That's actually why I would actually point people to, if you ever want to see an interesting series, look at the series called American Gods. Okay? American Gods. The African gods are all black. They're actually African. So by Dane's logic, you could just insert a white person there. Nah, that'd be problematic. You'd be taking over their culture. See, it doesn't work both ways. So, you get an idea.
This plot point is a trope that's, have negative associations with a given kind of identity. And that's one kind of work that I used to do a lot more, and I try to do less of it now. Or when I do that kind of thing now, I prefer to, try to spread that work among a team of experts, a team of consultants from different backgrounds who can address, my own blind spots and kind of create a panel on that. Because that's an area where, there's not a lot of creative input that they're necessarily going to allow us to give, because they're so far along. So a lot of the time, that kind of sensitivity work results in, cuts of certain things or slight changes. But what I prefer to do, and I don't really call it sensitivity reading, but I think of it as just, bringing representation to something, is trying to build a narrative and a story that include moments and elements custom made to bring representation and joy to people. Because that's kind of where, Sweet Baby lands on it.
There's a problem in this narrative. How do you get historical accuracy? if you're injecting modern day into your legends. Okay? Here you go. Same team that did this. All right? Same team. So you're going to say she's the god of monsters? She's the goddess of monsters. They say, oh, but we went through this with Heimdall in the MCU. Heimdall in the MCU is different. All right? Agrabota is supposed to be a giant. All right? She is not that. That was sheer being put in. Now, if a culture decides its fate, now, Angrboda is the mother of monsters in Norse mythology. All right? Mother of monsters. She is the mother of Fenrir by Loki. As a giantess in Jotunheim. Ytmar. Well, there's a better way to say that. The mother of three monsters. The wolf Fenrir, the Midgard servant Jormungandr, and the ruler of the dead Hel. And they have her as a diversity hire in a video game. When she is a straight up person who gave birth to monsters. She is basically all right. They would have not seen black people. They don't know what dark-skinned people look like. Vikings were up north, so they would have been representations of them. It would have looked white. It would have looked weird. They wouldn't know it. So please tell me, when a person says they want representation, you ignore the mythology.
I did a talk at GDC called Representation as Innovation. And for me, the idea that, you know, we can create something new, create something exciting, create something fun, if we go in and from the ground up build something that includes everybody, it's a lot stronger.
That's really interesting. I'm kind of curious about, I don't know if you've run into this with Assassin's Creed in particular, but you talked about, you know, tropes and, you know, maybe because this could be a stereotype, or, you know, that this could be harmful to people because there are already certain attitudes maybe associated with it. And these are historical games. So those tropes kind of, they are based in history. Is that something that
Loosely based in historical period. They always have a historical setting, potentially, but sometimes not. Like, Assassin's Creed 3 takes place during the Revolutionary War. Yes. I think the other one is the French Revolution. I have to look it back up. Which is Syndicate. Which I don't know why. I mean, but largely, you could have diversity, but in reality, do know what's bad, unless you want to count Assassin's Creed 3 being done by colonists.
you've run into, or?
I think for something like this, what you have to remember is
This
that
explanation
the history that
there.
we're aware of is heavily biased by the culture in which we live and have lived since then. So when we create stories about colonization, we're generally going to hear from the colonizers.
That word, colonizers. That is activist learning, Miss Sparkles. That is activist learning. That is an activist keyword. In history, we often say history is written by the victors. Okay. Meaning the victors write the history. And so usually the other side that lost is never remembered properly because the victors always make them look like shit. But in the case of the Nazis, when the Allies won the war, they made sure that the Nazis were vilified because of the stuff they did during the war. Very different case. That is a very, very different case. So, what people never understand about how history is taught, this is the same person. I can pretty much say she said, like, with God of War Ragnarok, totally fine. This is just how it goes. I guarantee you, this is her in her own words. Oh, God. I forgot my own. So, again, this is where you start getting into.
And I feel like that's always my frustration when it come across people who are like, well, that's not historically accurate. And I just want to ask them, but how do you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, you know, when I see people writing historical fiction and trying to diversify it, a lot of the time there's this pressure they feel, I think, to justify.
Hold on.
Evidence of it historically. because they were just so upset by it.
Which I think is that stories that take place from a perspective that's going to show us things we don't know. You know, I have a book called The Black Victorians. People go, oh, that's such a modern name. That doesn't sound right.
Oh,
So
that's right. We
the-
were
Often sugarcoat it because a lot of those oppressors are still, you know, systemically and structurally with us today. So we
keyword 2, oppressors. Oh, you can tell this woman learned. She was an activist long prior.
One of them is that, you know, you are presented with something that's more or less finished, that's already in there, and kind of your job there is to tell someone, okay, this might be offensive. This character feels, you know, inauthentic to the identity that they're supposed to convey, or this, you know, this plot point is a trope that's, you know, have negative associations with a given kind of identity. And that's one kind of work that I used to do a lot more, and I try to do less of it now. Or when I do that kind of thing now, I prefer to, you know, try to spread that work among a team of experts, a team of consultants from different backgrounds who can address, you know, my own blind spots and kind of create a panel on that. Because that's an area where, you know, there's not a lot of creative input that they're necessarily going to allow, you know, allow us to give, because they're so far along. So a lot of the time, that kind of sensitivity work results in, you know, cuts of certain things or slight changes. But what I prefer to do, and I don't really call it sensitivity reading, but I think of it as just, you know, bringing representation to something, is trying to build a narrative and a story that include moments and elements custom made to bring representation and joy to people. Because that's kind of where
728. Where it was.
So when we create stories about colonization, we're generally going to hear from the colonizers. When we tell stories about, you know, oppression, we often sugarcoat it because a lot of those oppressors are still, you know, systemically and structurally with us today. So we are still influencing. So a lot of the time, I think the problem that we run into in anything historical, any kind of story like that, whether it's a game, whether it's a movie, a TV show, whatever it is this feeling that everything we know about the oppression, about the structural, you know, the structure
This
of
is where I
society,
start
the
dissenting.
stuff that we think is, you know, a given feels natural to us, but anything that feels unlikely or any, you know, anomalous things end up getting kind of brushed aside. So when we look at the Victorian era, for example, we look at that and we go, oh, well, that was probably, you know, everybody was white, is what we see in media a lot of the time, right? We look at these things and it ends up becoming super white without actually inviting the fact that, like, there was actual diversity there. There are many instances of people in all levels.
Maybe. Hypothetically, yes. This whole thing, someone would have convinced people like this. Because bear in mind, the actual canon Ivor is the female Ivor in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The male doesn't exist, by the way. You know what's funny? This actual video only has 1,000 views. In almost 4 years. I am so curious why no one has found this. Like, this has been found. Like, the thing about this, in almost 4 years, like, Just gotta tell you, and this is what's funny. A lot of this is buried. And I think Upper Echelon had this in his video. This is a lot to break down from one of this they say. Because when I'm talking how, when you hear words like colonist, oppressors, those are leftist dog whistles. That's what people don't understand. Those are leftist dog whistles. They have their own dog whistle language. They accuse right people, right-leaning, of dog whistles more. Left people can never have white people. Like, white people can't. I guess white people can't. Non-white people cannot have dog whistles. Think tanks put forward dog whistle words. And this goes for left and right. Now, what's the meaning of a dog whistle? She calls white men earlier in the interview when she's working on Nathaniel Drake. She's saying, oh, sure, cis white men. You can't say white men. You have to say cis heterosexual. Because someone tells you that's the word. This isn't an act. She's legit an activist. So is the co-creator of Sweet Baby Inc. This is what Dane doesn't get. These are why people, I'm going to be honest with you, they're crazy. Again, I tie this back to DEI. At some point, they took the rational. Nice. Congratulations, Renown. Very good. It's all going to be interesting. See, this interview, talking about it, when you want to see, Miss Sparkles has never heard what are terms. This is what I tried to explain to you, Renown, about buzzwords. What are their dog whistles? Think tanks always have dog whistles, no matter the word. Though left people don't think about it. They don't like to know that there is this way. I mean, right-leaning organizations have it as well, but it's less prevalent. Partly because liberal people, progressive people, perverse the language. This is what they've been doing for 10 years. See, Renam, this is the video. This is a long one. Like, I kind of want to go over this because, man, but would I go crazy? Because a lot of this is how eventually it just gets into gobbledygook.
Society from a ton of different backgrounds. But when we look at it through our lens now, and we start casting something, people go, no, that can't possibly be. It's just, you're just forcing diversity on it. You're just tokenizing people. But
so, like Hogwarts. So Hogwarts Legacy is set in the late 1800s. All right? Late 1800s, early 1900s. And it's basically it is the most diverse school with the less white people in it than anything. And if it was based on Victoria, London, or Victorian era, sure, you might have Indians over there. You might have some black people that are already there. But it isn't going to be that damn diverse. you can literally tell they took the diversity meter, shoved it up 300 degrees, and said, oh, that's actual history. Now, her argument is very interesting because a lot of these stories come because the oppressors are still around. All right. That is some conspiracy theory tinfoil hat. So, that's really bad.
Ultimately, that feels more, that's actually more accurate, but it doesn't look accurate to us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It-
it's more limiting also in what kind of stories you can tell. If
Yeah,
people are
I
always
think
expecting those same things.
exactly. There's an expectation that we have. And for me, there's this thing called the Tiffany problem. And it's how I like to talk. It's one of the ways I like to talk about, historical diversity, in that the Tiffany problem is that Tiffany was actually a fairly common name hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But if you write about that, if you actually say, hey, I'm going to put a character named Tiffany in my game set, years, centuries ago, people go, oh, that's such a modern name. That doesn't sound right. So the reality of the situation, which is, yes, Tiffany was a name back then, feels wrong and ahistorical if we look at it today. And I think it's the same way when we put diversity into the past. People go, oh no, but you're just putting diversity in. They don't even feel ready because they've been exposed to so much, whether it's whitewashed, whether it's just, colonized media, that they go, oh, there can't possibly have been diversity back then, because my understanding of it was that this was a homogenous time. And so I think I look at it like that.
Or they make excuses for it, like, yeah, well, sure, okay, maybe there were some women in World War I that were on the front lines, but it was only in these specific situations, so we shouldn't show it in the game.
Exactly. You have so much of that happening. And for me, there's so many leaps that we already take with history. There are so many things that we decide are true. And so many of the protagonists that we choose for our games are exceptional by their nature. So why not take that further? Why not say that, yeah, we can tell different kinds of stories? And frankly, we see so many of these eras in history through one lens, and then we forget that these same stories, the same society was experienced by so many different kinds of people. And I would bet a lot of the time that those stories are more interesting. The stories that take place from a perspective that's going to show us things we don't know. I have a book called The Black Victorians, and it's such an interesting read because it's something I had never really seen a lot of the time. I had kind of, we all kind of think, okay, well, that was slavery then, and so that must have been how everybody saw things, but there were incredible things being done all around the world, and we rarely explore that in media because it doesn't fit what we're used to. So I think there's just so many opportunities to kind of change that and to show people both exceptional and unexceptional from different backgrounds.
That sounds like a really interesting book. I have to look into that.
Sure, I recommend it.
I'm sure it's full of crap.
Just to add to that a little bit, I was really surprised when I saw the movie Victoria and Abdul about Queen Victoria and Indian Muslim servants. And yeah, like so many people didn't know about it, specifically because the people around her were very careful to erase all evidence of it historically.
No.
Because they were just so upset by it.
Indians were a colony.
That's so interesting to me because it's a deliberate attempt to erase things. And yet we look back on it and we go like, oh, we take it at face value. We just assume because we don't know about it, it didn't happen.
And Gurkhas.
And we don't think about the fact that it's not just that we forgot, but people actively worked against preserving this information.
Absolutely. So that's why I do like Assassin's Creed so much, because I feel like there's so much room to tell stories that, there's probably a lot of people in history we didn't know about who did significant things, who are just kind of marginalized and erased. And I feel like that's always my frustration when I come across people who are like, well, that's not historically accurate. And I just want to ask them, but how do you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, when I see people writing historical fiction and trying to diversify it, a lot of the time there's this pressure they feel, I think, to justify everyone who is, for example, not white. They have to go like, oh, well, here's the story of how I came to be here, because you accept all the white people, but you don't accept these kinds of people. And for me, I like to see pieces of media where it's not explained, because that's not necessary. If you see someone who's different in that timeline, then it's probably because it happened, because this existed, and we don't need to necessarily know every detail of that story, of how we don't have to justify every time we want to step outside of the norms. We can just have it happen and realize that that's almost more representative in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like I was really happy with Ned's representation in Syndicate.
Absolutely.
He was just there, and nobody
Yeah.
questioned it, or nobody like asked, well, how did you get here? And that whole story. I feel like that's still, I hope that things have gotten a little better about trans representation in games since then, but at the time, at least, there were still a lot of, like, even in RPGs where they were, ostensibly they were accepted as part of your crew, but there was always that option to ask them about it, and it
Yeah.
always felt a little wrong.
Agreed. I think there's something really, for me, it's just, there's something really beautiful about being able to just kind of understand that that's a character's story, that you aren't necessarily entitled to it, because your experience of that character is going to be what they want to tell you. I think we often give protagonists this really invasive way of connecting with people.
Yeah.
But I think there's something nice about going like, I'm here, this is my identity, this is who I am, and this is how I live. And that's the part that's going to be interesting.
I wanted to ask, do you often face pushback about your suggestions when you do these sensitivity readings? And have you ever felt like your advice was ignored?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's part and parcel of the process, is that a lot of the time when a project that I'm on is purely a sensitivity reading, it's often done so that they can feel like they've done their due diligence. But a lot of the time, especially when it's late, the problem ends up being like, hey, we can't change these things that you suggest. We might agree with them. The team or the client might go like, hey, this is really cool. We like this idea. Unfortunately, we've already recorded all of these scenes.
So is it at that point, do you feel like it's just a formality that they're asking you to look over the text even though they know they can't change it?
I think a lot of it is to create answers. And this is being a little inside baseball. It's a little, I don't want to dismiss the practice, but I think that a lot of the time it's more for what are people going to be angry about when this comes out. It's more about like making sure that the PR is good. It's so that when someone says, hey, we find something offensive about this, they have an answer for it. And I do respect that. Like I think that it's important to think about how your product is coming out into the world and being ready to answer and discuss the important issues that people bring up. But isn't it better when you do that work as part of the development process? I think for me, the reason that I don't do a lot of pure sensitivity readings anymore, and I kind of more flag things and try to make them different within the narrative, is that I want to make sure that the representation that we bring to the stories is organic and holistic and part of the creation of it. So like one of the ways that I talk about it a lot is this, like, if you call someone in to tell you what you've done wrong in your already completed project, the best outcome that you can get is to kind of sand down the rough edges of your story, is to say, okay, there are these rough bits and those little places that are going to hurt people. We're going to sand those down and make sure that they're not there. But what that ends up with isn't necessarily something representative. It's just something that's inoffensive. It's something that doesn't outwardly offend a group of people or doesn't say anything about a certain kind of person, but instead it doesn't say anything at all. So the thing that I prefer to kind of shape it as, and what we do at Sweet Baby, is it's more about saying, here's some opportunities that are ahead of you in your story. Here's a place where instead of just saying, hey, we can put you in and, you know, not make an offensive caricature, how about we make a character who's truly representative, truly authentic, and brings joy to the people that you're trying to represent? Because I would rather see that. I'd rather see a character who brings some small element of reality to me, who I can recognize as being made for me, than just someone who looks like me.
Right, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, and because there's so much joy. I mean, you know, when you feel, I think that one of the things that we don't talk about enough in life is just like, we're trying to bring joy to our audience and to our players. At the end of the day, what we're making is something that is a toy, that's something that is fun, something that engages and excites. And so if I can create something, if anyone can create something where a person who doesn't get to see themselves represented in media not only gets to see themselves represented physically, but gets to go, oh, I can see that they know about my life. They know who I am. You know, the little details in the way that you make food, in the way that you do your hair, in the way that you relate to things. Those are the things that bring people joy. And that's where the representation lies. It's when you sit down and you go, oh, that's me up there. It's not just something that looks like me, it's me. And so that's kind of the approach that we try to take, that I try to take in anything that I do, to say, how can I make someone feel represented?
Just recently, I saw this post about the upcoming Spider-Man sequel, the video game, with Miles Morales, and it had this scene where he can do sign language, and
Yes.
I saw so many people react to that with joy and happiness, like, oh my God, I feel represented, I feel seen.
Yeah, and that's amazing. To me, that moment is something that I think, you know, if we look at the traditional, like quote unquote traditional audience for video games, or what we think is the audience for video games, we go like, okay, it's going to be primarily straight cis white men. And that's how we a lot of the time people go, okay, that's who video games are really for. And then everyone else is kind of like a special interest group. And to me, I think that audience has seen themselves represented all the time. There are 1,000 protagonists who are white cis straight men. And I think that we've almost lost touch with the joy that they are receiving by seeing themselves represented, because we just go like, oh, that's just how it is. We kind of like tamp that down. But the reality is we all deserve to feel that joy. We all deserve to inhabit a character that feels like us. We all deserve to meet characters in games, or we all deserve at least to have a different experience. And for me, if I can enjoy playing a game as, you know, let's say Nathan Drake or something, right? I think that someone who is more demographically similar to Nathan Drake could probably enjoy playing a game as me, because it represents a different experience. And that's what I when I say representation as innovation, that's what I mean, is that it's something new for everyone to enjoy. Like if I am playing a game and I get to explore an authentic version or an authentic set of references to another culture that is done with sensitivity, with care, and by working with people from that culture, I'm getting something new, something that informs me, something that allows me to experience innovation. And people from that culture are getting something that they can use as a touchstone, so that they can look at and go, this feels really good for me. And that's the power that we have. And I think it's, narratively speaking, a direction that we should be going a lot more.
I will add that as someone who is myself like a person of color, I always notice when a character seems deliberately crafted to have that sort of like identity versus something that's kind of just seen, like it's been thrown in. Like people will often accuse characters of, you know, they'll accuse games or media of having diversity for diversity's sake. But there's you can definitely notice a difference in quality when it's like a detail thrown in at the last minute versus like this identity has been specifically crafted. Like this person is who they are because like they've been designed that way. So I always really appreciate when I feel like devs like really kind of commit to a character and give us like a different sort of protagonist.
Yeah, I fully agree, because I think you can tell, you know, you can see when something is made to represent you, versus when something is just made to make, I guess, the dev or the creator feel like they've represented you, right? Where I think, you know, you can tell a lot of the time when you're reading like a female character, there are moments, even if the writing is very, very good, where you can just tell like, oh, that was written by a man. And it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be offensive. Like, it's not necessarily that you go like, oh, it's some kind of really like crude thing, or you're like, no, it can be someone, you can have an incredibly talented man who just wrote the hell out of this character, but there are small moments where you go, oh, I can see that in real life, that character's lived experience wouldn't match up with what they're saying. You know, that little societal touchstones of, you know, a woman's experience, you just don't see it there, and you go, oh, I can feel that there's something missing. And I think that is, you know, you can feel that across the board. You see it all the time, I think, in, you know, a lot of Black characters, for example, you see and you go, oh, this character was written to be the Black friend. They were not written by, or even maybe consulted with, a Black person, because the stuff they're saying doesn't quite line up with the experience. Because I think, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, you can speak to this as well. Whatever background, whatever identity you have, it doesn't just, you know, as much as it doesn't make you who you are, it doesn't define you completely, but it absolutely informs the way that you live. I know that, you know, whether or not, if I were white, then I might have a completely different outlook on certain things. If I were from any other culture, I might have a different outlook, but everything that I've done is a result of who I am. And my ethnicity is part of that.
It's already an older game, but I could talk for days about the Christina missions in AC Brotherhood. I love that game, but there's a mission where you basically, as the male protagonist, you stalk this girl.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like,
yeah, I think, you know, and it's those areas where you go, wait a second, if you asked, and you can, again, if you can make it work, like you can write it around it so that it becomes true in the world of the game, right? You can say, oh, she liked you doing this, therefore it's okay.
yeah. Yeah.
But then if you think, like, if you asked, you know, a lot of women and a lot of marginalized folks, like, hey, does this feel comfortable to you? They would probably answer like, oh no, absolutely not. This feels really difficult, and I don't find it romantic. But I think that's where that disconnect is, where you go, oh, something's being shown to you that's supposed to connect with you, but it's clearly not written for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely have those moments where I take a step back and I'm like, whoop, yeah, I'm definitely not the target audience for this.
Yep. And that's hard, because we should start looking at that in the same way that we look at a lot of different kinds of ludonarrative dissonance, right? When something that we see doesn't match up to what we're doing. I think there's a lot to be said about that, because if I experience that, not only is it just taking me out of it for a moment, because I'm going like, oh, I find this uncomfortable, but it's also, you know, for example, you might be less sympathetic of your protagonist then, because he's doing something now that you don't like. And so for you, you're like, oh, I have to now participate in this action that I don't fundamentally agree with. So I feel disconnected from the game, from the character, and that means that I'm suddenly not aligned anymore, which is what we aim for as designers, right? To make the player feel aligned with what they're doing. Even when that thing is morally ambiguous.
I've definitely had a few missions where I'm like, yep, this is a terrible idea, but the game's going to make me do it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, sometimes I you know, as someone who works in both AAA and indie, I'm well aware of like all the constraints. There's sometimes when you have to go, look, we're just going to put a strong and convincing narrative wrapper around this thing that we can't really work around. But at the same time, I think I think there's a lot of work that we could do, just change those things from the beginning. And if we started including more people in that process, we probably never come to a point where we have to have this happen. We can probably figure out another solution.
So I'm going to use that opportunity to kind of segue into my question. And that's, when it comes to diversity in the writer's room, how is the video game industry currently doing?
I think I want to think that it's improving. I hope that, you know, I think this year especially we've seen a lot of promises about that. I think there's been a lot of social movements, a lot of awareness, a lot of talk about how we do have to do better. It is our responsibility as a society and as an industry within that to be more inclusive, to be more diverse. And so I hope that we're on the right track. This year, while working actually on Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League with Rocksteady, was the first time that I was in a writer's room with another Black writer. And I've been in the industry for 7 years, and he's been in the industry for about 15. And I don't, like, that for me is wild, is like, it's hard to believe that that can still be true, you know, to say like, that's it. So I think that that's where I currently stand, where I'm like, I want to see more of it. I am starting to see it improve, but I think there's still a ways to go, especially in leadership. You know, I see a lot of, I think, you know, junior writers that we're bringing in, a lot of, you know, first-time writers, a lot of really super talented people who are bringing in from a bunch of different backgrounds. But a lot of the time they're entering into systems where they haven't promoted a lot of people of color. They haven't promoted a lot of marginalized identities. They haven't promoted a lot of, you know, LGBTQ folks. They haven't promoted a lot of, and basically anyone who looks like them. So they get into the industry, but all of, like, you know, say the lead or director positions are still held by the same people. And that's, I think, where we have to start really working, is realizing, you know, who has been working here for a long time, who's already here, who can become leaders and provide a space. Because it's one thing, I think, if you say, hey, I'm going to be a male lead and I'm going to create an all female team of writers, like, cool. But if they come up with a bunch of ideas that speak for them and you still hold all of the power to say, no, I disagree, I'm going to go ahead and do this, then are you really helping? You know, it's about also saying, hey, there's space for you in leadership, there's space for you in management, there's space for you to move up the ranks. So I think we need to do better with that. And that's where I'd like to see a little more focus. But yeah, I would say that we're improving the industry in that way.
It's really illustrative what you said, that you've been working on in the industry for 7 years, and that was like the first time that there was another person of color in the same room. Or
I've had another Black person for myself, but I think that a lot of folks of color have had that same experience. For the most part, it's very rare still.
Yeah, it's kind of staggering to think about.
Yeah, but it explains a lot. I think,
yeah,
the treatment of all
really
these characters.
I guess kind of related to that is there an issue with retaining writers from sort of like marginalized groups? Like, and if so, is it kind of an issue of they're kind of thrown into these environments where it's difficult to succeed, or is it just kind of the strict limitations, it seems like, on being able to really just advance your career?
It's all the above, I think. I think one, we have a lot of, as I was saying, we have a lot of folks who are coming in new, right? Who are juniors, who are enthusiastic, who want to join it and who deserve a place. But they come in and they end up getting very little support, very little understanding of what, you know, it is to be marginalized, very little understanding of how that's going to affect them, how people are going to treat them. And also, you know, very little understanding of how their background is going to inform their work, you know? And I think, unfortunately, that burns a lot of newcomers out and makes it so that they're stuck in these situations where they're still working under the status quo. And so, you know, the room, let's say the writer's room has maybe diversified, but are they being treated well? Are they being cared for? Does that matter to the management? A lot of the time the answer is no. And similarly, I think the amount of work that women and marginalized identities have to do in this industry means that they often do have to do all that extra work. Because when we talk about something like sensitivity reading, and the reason that I still like it and still do it is that I think it's important. But often that work is being handled by marginalized people on these game teams. So before they're willing to pay for someone to come in and do this work for money, they'll often ask, let's say you have an Asian writer on your team, and you have one person who's representative, and you're writing a game, let's say about like an Asian culture. So every time that you have a question about it, you go, oh, I'll just ask her. So you keep going back to her every time. And at the end of the week, you've spent 4 hours of her time, and now she's a little bit behind on the script that she's supposed to deliver because she lost that time. So then, she goes to the manager, and the manager says, well, why are you falling behind? And because they don't value that work, because they think, oh, I'm just asking her a question about her culture, that's going to be easy for her. They don't value it as work. And so, now all of a sudden she's overwhelmed because she's doing that. And that happens so often. That becomes free labor for people to do, that I think it means that the marginalized people on your team are going to do additional labor, be it emotional or just practical.
Oh no, I've definitely heard quite a few stories, not for game development necessarily, but even in like animation. I feel like that's definitely an issue that kind of crosses industries, really. So that's really
I think it's in everything. It's every time you have to answer a question about your identity, it's taking time from you that is valuable. And right now, the way that I think about it, and the reason that I am happy a lot of the time to talk both about writing a narrative and also diversity is that I currently have the time. Like and by time, I don't necessarily mean like hours of the day, because who has enough of those? But I have the energy. I have the capacity to do it because I would have wanted to have more people talking about it when I started out. And so there might come a day where I'm like, man, I am tired of talking about this. But for now, it's something that really, it gives me energy to talk about it and to relate to people and to hear folks' experience with the same thing, because it inspires me, I think, to work towards changing that.
It's good to keep in mind because the game industry already has a high turnover rate in general.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine what it's like for marginalized people.
Oh, and that's exactly it. And I think with the pandemic and seeing the way that things are changing, we're kind of shining a light on a lot of that as we become, now we can work remotely. So immediately you have a different set of people you can and should hire, but there is a feeling that, why wasn't this happening before? And, I also credit a lot of discussion with Black Lives Matter, because you saw that the way that went through the video game industry, right? Like we saw so many responses from studios to say, we're going to do better, we're going to do this and that. And I want that conversation to continue, but I think it has to be ongoing if we want that to actually bear fruit.
So it sounds like, it often sounds like studios will make a commitment to recruiting more talent from diverse pools, but it also sounds like really there needs to be more of a focus on how they're going to help their employees succeed. Like I don't know if there's any sort of like career development resources or mentorships available, but it sounds like that might be an area where the industry needs to step up.
I think it absolutely does. And I think that people and studios especially need to start thinking about, why do they want diversity? Like, we all should have it. It is a good thing. And I could sit, and I'm sure we could all sit and talk about why we want diversity for hours. But a lot of the time, I think people see diversity as a check mark you can just kind of tick off. You can go, okay, we have a diverse team, perfect, next. But the question becomes like, why do you want a diverse team? Are you actually doing it because you want to hear different perspectives, because you think it's important and it's going to make your product, your company, and your experiences better? Or do you just think, well, now I've done it, it's politically correct? Because the value of diversity is in the ideas that we...
So, this is in her own words explaining why she does what she does. Miss Sparkles, you need to go back and look what I say when people use buzzwords. colonist oppressor. This is the same. It's a lot of stuff. She was taught this. So she basically did the equivalent, supports Anita Sarkeesian's view that that's a nice business you got there. That would literally be a shame if somebody told you and called you a racist. Yeah, that's something to renown. I don't even know if you've ever heard that before.
We can bring from our experiences is in the skills that we can bring, and the different ways that our lives inform our work. And if we start looking
It's about
at
people
that, yeah, it's about it informs everything that you do. So why not make that the focus? So if you have a diverse room, how are you behaving differently than you would if you had
Yeah, this goes into a different topic.
Do you know what the value is? Do you realize?
Yeah, this goes into the different topic here. Right. But this is her and her own. She is the one who helped come up with the female Ivor and others. Again, I could pretty much deep dive this. Like, you would be very shocked. This has probably been front and center for the last, since 2013, 2014? Like, what is it? Like, sorry. It's one of those days today. It's one day. Brain's working, body's not, or from that. Just, ugh. Nah, but like, these people, they've existed probably for a while. Like, think about Arik, right? Arik calls cis white men. He's an activist himself. So when you said earlier, Miss Sparkles, about the whole concept, it's what it is. Ugh. Again, if I deep dive this, I'd probably go crazy. Because parts of it are so bad. And strangely enough, this one video has 1,000 views in almost 4 years. Occasionally, you'll find people who have discovered it. But this is the thing. This was discovered very early on by some people. Because everyone does her GDC conference. The issue with people like this is they don't know the limits. Basically. So sorry, apologize. Yeah. See, people weren't yep. Ooh. But then again, right? She couldn't possibly be racist. She could not be wrong. So that's the problem with a lot of these people. You know? She puts her ideology before her actual work. See, I want to go into Sweet Baby, but it'd be a very different take because a lot of stuff here, I'm very familiar with. Apparently there's like another. So, like, there's another thing, like, clearly it's like 2 years ago. Oh, and she was all fine to talk about this at one point. But I'm about to fall asleep, which is weird. Normally I would. But the GDC conference is rather interesting as well. But a lot of this, I just got to take the time and the effort and just put it into one thing. A lot of people, if you're not familiar with how these people work, since it's about like 2013, 2014, you started seeing the more use of certain words. I have to go back and I wish I could find it more readily because I remember listening to it. Someone talked about in media. They asked Tim Pool about it. Vice, other websites. The person who did it. So it was around 2013 when you started seeing a lot of words come up. A lot of types of words. And they were put into articles. Like Tim Pool when he learned about it, which was like, and it was actually a media company that actually was like, yeah, we're going to use this type of marketing. But, as I say, it's definitely, it would scare people that these people have been out a while. But I'm probably going to have to get off, and as I say, brain's fried. So I wish people luck. So this should be 3 p.m. tomorrow. I don't know. I should just prepare these things like a week in advance. But yeah, I would be lying though. It's insane. But I need to go lay down too. I haven't really felt good today. So, be good though. It's all great. All right. Catch people later, and I should be back tomorrow. I think too, because actually, when I want to present this, I want it to be thorough. Stamp of approval. So, wish people luck, but yeah, I'm not. It feels like I'm trying to come down with something, but I'm not quite certain. But lately, it's just stress and other items getting to me. So, all right, I will catch people later, and again, 3 p.m. tomorrow. Maybe a little later. I'll set it to start. So, all right. I'm going to go get a nap, and so catch people later. Bye.